Hi, hey, hello. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Rain. If you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back, stopping on. Today I'm lining Deterioration, and I would really love it if you were to do something artistic as well. Tag me on it. Socials will be in the description below. And then maybe just relax. Doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want while we're here. I'd appreciate it if you watch until the end or engage throughout with your thoughts on the topics that I bring up, giving me your opinions and such, because I do want to open a discussion here and a critique on my own art in the comments. Thusly, I would really appreciate it if you engage in that component of the video that I'm making. So, I actually wasn't mentally in the headspace of creating for YouTube yet. I was more in the headspace of creating for Instagram Reels when I filmed this line art process, because I film everything I do. And so I committed the mortal crime of filming in portrait, so I have provided you a cat cam as an apology. It'll turn into a dog cam later. Boo Boo, who's on screen right now, gets up and walks off after a while. Anya will come on screen. All that beautiful, beautiful jazz. I hope you can forgive my crimes. I'll get used to the whole YouTube filming and landscape eventually. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because oof, those black bars, ugly. Jeez. But that aside, I kind of decided that my overall talking point for today, I wanted to be kind of on the concept of when nudity is too far in art. Because I have experienced some harsh warnings about my art not being appropriate from Discord servers that I'm in, and kind of just balancing the line between when is nudity in art too far, when is it pornographic, and kind of just like putting my thoughts out there and then opening a discussion for it, because I am particularly interested in other people's thoughts, because in university, nudity in art is something that's very much, I don't want to say encouraged, but very much acceptable. You take life drawing, you draw naked people. You don't draw people with clothes. You do gesture drawings of naked people. You can post or publish in college forums nudity in art, and it is very much just not batted at. People don't think, oh no, you're exposing this to the wrong type of people, because everyone there is an adult. Yes, people can bring their kids, but usually the people who are there are aware of what may or may not be seen, and then they just kind of act accordingly. But here in the online space, it's not something that can be mitigated as effectively. And so I'm always kind of conflicted personally on how do you balance those lines. So I was kind of grappling with this piece because I designed her the way I did because it's the topic of deterioration in chronic illness. It's the process of your condition, her condition, taking away parts of her body and her kind of deteriorating slowly as time progresses, the feeling like parts of you are floating away and unable to be retrieved or to get back. It was supposed to be a piece kind of just more of an event piece on the ways in which it feels like the body fails. I chose the ruffly skirt because it is kind of dainty, beautiful aesthetic, and I think that when you kind of exist in these universes of chronic illness, disability, and representation of such people in the media, generally movies, video games, stuff like that, there's this romanticization of being ill, a fetishization more so of this deteriorating experience. And so I kind of wanted to kind of tie in that more so to that ideology with a more explicit depiction of the deteriorating flesh and the particles that I'm going to be illustrating in later. When it comes to like the final illustration, I am going to be adding more ink. I'll be adding that in later. I like to add those final touches in when it's all colored and kind of see how I like it to fall. And then add in shadows later, kind of. But when illustrating her, I did provide censor bars for most of this. That was for posting on social media because I didn't know if I wanted to do a nippleless version. I did end up doing a nipple-free version. I do really like it. It was more so for the socials because I wasn't sure. I really don't know when I should draw my own line and when I should try to adhere to censorship in a way where I disregard nudity and I illustrate clothing. And then when I do illustrate clothing, do I make it skin tight to best get the effect that I had originally wanted, meet expectations, or adhere to the standards of other people? In college, when you ask these sorts of questions, oddly enough, I just get curate your audience, or like the people who want to see it will see it, but I don't necessarily think that the nudity is what people want to see when they come to my art. Maybe they do. Maybe I do get comments every once in a while that are like, ooh, mommy, which is fine. I do draw in a way where I accept that wholeheartedly. However, I don't want my target audience to be people who are seeking that kind of aesthetic or necessarily seeking lewder kind of art. I want my audience more so to be empathetic or sympathetic to when I'm illustrating pieces like Deterioration, to at least be kind of aware of the fact that there is a entire text post that I intend to associate with my art and then say, hey, this is what it's about. And if people find my characters hot, like, that's a win for me too. And I like my art style and I draw the way I draw for that sake. And I like my art style and I draw the way I draw for that sake. Yeah, however, should I be censoring my art more so that I can adhere to standards and policies? Because here on YouTube, nudity for artistic purposes in illustration, I'm sure they don't mean like physical nude humans. I just went to the artistic policies part of it to see if this was acceptable to even post here, and I saw that it was okay. And so thusly, I don't feel like I'm harming anybody because I put that my stuff isn't for kids. I make it very clear that this is not designed for kids, and I don't necessarily know that it belongs as 18 plus. I'm still figuring that out. If you want to give me your opinions, I'd really appreciate that. But really, I got in trouble in a Discord server for this one. I got in trouble in a Discord server for another illustration that had a nipple-free woman. And I guess it was more so that I was breaking community guidelines for their pornographic policy. And so I guess what I'm really interested in is this porn? Is this pornographic? Because I don't feel it is. I don't think that this is particularly explicit in a sexual manner. I don't illustrate with the intention of explicitly sexual intentions, because I don't really think that way when I'm illustrating. I illustrate to more so articulate the feelings that I best want represented, and I don't think about that type of stuff when I'm working. I don't think about it when I'm designing. And nudity is a big part of my, I don't want to say my style necessarily, but the way that I choose to approach the expression. And ignore me drawing individual toes in a minute here, whilst the character does in fact have socks on. I don't know how I forgot that. I do fix it later. I don't know if I fix it in this recorded process. I might have just done it quickly because it was just some light erasing. But, yeah. Individual Tony socks is what you're looking at right now. So I was kind of thinking, am I unintentionally perhaps being sexually explicit in the art that I create by having a tendency towards knee socks and skirts? And am I leaning in a way that is more sexually explicit to an audience by having breast be out, or low-cut shirts, or shirtless men, and so on and so forth? Am I detracting from the quality of my art, and perhaps sometimes even the messaging that I'm wishing to convey by doing these things? And because I'm the artist and I'm not the audience, I find that it's difficult for me to actually get a grasp on that, because I'm not viewing it from the perspective of somebody who is naive or unknowing of my intentions when I go through my artistic process. And so I guess I'm here to inquire, what do you think when looking at my art? Do you feel like my art is leaning one way or another? Because there is messaging behind it. I don't have memberships on my Ko-fi at the moment. I post there my pieces and a kind of big bloggy thing once they're finished, with my feelings, my thoughts, what my intentions were when working on the illustration, why I made the design decisions that I did. And when it comes to hopefully the coloring phase of this, I do want to talk about my design decisions, why I chose certain components, why I really liked this pose, how I was experimenting with a particular composition technique for the first time. I do want to go into that in the video I do where I color it, but I'm actually really slow between working on projects. You'll probably get used to it very soon. I very much don't like to work on one thing because I like to let creativity fester, and I do not tying myself to one project at a time, because I feel like for me it tends to lend itself to burnout. However, as an audience, what do you see when you look at my work? How do you interpret my work more blindly? And what's your opinion more so on nudity? Is my art more pornographic? And do you feel like it detracts from the general messaging, well, not explicitly stated here, the general messaging, or more so ideation of chronic illness and deterioration, and bodies more so kind of giving up? Want is to open a discussion, improve the way I approach nudity and these sorts of things, so that I will be able to better. And I think the best way to acquire this kind of information is just to outright request that people give me information, to put myself out there in the capacity of saying, hey, I am questioning how my art style depicts what I mean. Should I perhaps just stop assigning these types of thoughts to my art when I'm creating it? Because I like to draw more effeminate and exposed bodies in the process of creating this. I enjoy drawing the way I draw. And so it's okay if you don't have thoughts on this at all. It's okay if you don't have thoughts on this at all. I totally get it. But we're at the end already. I apparently talk too much. So like, comment, share, subscribe if you want. I really appreciate you sitting here through my entire rant, tangent, whatever this was. I hope you have a wonderful day or night. Goodbye.